The Kamba or Akamba people are a Bantu ethnic group or tribe, who live in the semi-arid formerly eastern province of Kenya, stretching east from Nairobi to Tsavo and north up to Embu, Kenya. This land is called Ukambani, which constitutes of Makueni County, Kitui County and Machakos County. Sources vary on whether they're the third, fourth or fifth largest ethnic group in Kenya. They make up to 11% of Kenya's population. They speak the Bantu Kamba language as a mother tongue. The Kamba are predominantly based in Machakos, Kitui and Makueni counties of Kenya. The total population of the Kamba stands at approximately 4.1 million. The Kamba are also called Akamba or Kamba. Origin. The Kamba are of Bantu origin. They are closely related in language and culture Kikuyu, Embu, Mabir and Meru, and are concentrated in the lowlands of southeastern from the vicinity of Mount Kenya to the coast. The exact place that the Kamba's ancestors migrated from after the initial Bantu expansion from Central Africa is uncertain. The first group settled in present-day Mabuni Hills in Machakos district of Kenya in the second half of the 17th century before spreading to the Greater Machakos, Makueni and Kitui districts. Other authorities suggest that they arrived in the present lowlands east of Mount Kenya area of inhabitation from earlier settlements further to the north and east, while others argue that the Kamba, along with the closely related eastern Bantu neighbors the Kikuyu, Embu, Mabir and Meru, moved into Kenya from points further south. It is believed that the Akamba bore a son, Kikuyu, who married Mumbi and together started the first Kikuyu family, which is today the Kikuyu tribe. Distribution. According to Ethnologue, there are approximately 3,960,000 Kamba speakers, with the number increasing. They live in Kenya, and are concentrated in the Machakos, Kitui and Makueni counties of the former Eastern Province and Kwale County of the former Coast Province. The Akamba share borders with the Maasai people, are literally separated by the Kenya-Uganda Railway from Athi to Kilwezi. Up until late 20th century, the Maasai and the Akamba communities were involved in persistent cattle rustling and pasture conflicts, especially on the pasture-rich Konza Plains. This attracted the interest of colonial government, who created cooperative society and later the establishment of Konza, Pother and Malili ranches, where the proposed Konza Technology City sits. Apart from Kenya, Kamba people can also be found in Uganda, Tanzania and in South American country of Paraguay. The population of Akamba in Kenya is over 348,000, about 8,280 in Uganda and 110,000 in Tanzania. Language. The Kamba speak the Kamba language as a mother tongue. It belongs to the Bantu branch of the Niger-Congo language family. Interesting, Kikamba has no letters RH and Q in its alphabet. Economy. Like many Bantus, the Akamba were originally hunters and gatherers, became long-distance traders because of the knowledge of the expansive area they inhabited and good relations with neighboring communities, as well as excellent communication skills. Later adopted subsistence farming and pastoralism due to the availability of the new land that they came to occupy. Today, the Akamba are often found engaged in different professions. Some are agriculturalists, others are traders, while others have taken up formal jobs. Barter trade with the Kikuyu, Maasai, Meru and Embu people in the interior and the Mijikenda and Arab people of the coast was also practiced by the Akamba, who straddled the eastern plains of Kenya. Over time, The Akamba extended the commercial activity and wielded economic control across the central part of the land that was later to be known as Kenya, for the Indian Ocean in the east to Lake Victoria in the west, and all the way up to Lake Turkana on the northern frontier. The Akamba traded in locally produced goods such as sugarcane, wine, ivory, brass amulets, tools and weapons, millet, and cattle. The food obtained from trading helped offset shortages caused by droughts and famines experienced in the Kamba land. They also traded in medicinal products known as miti, made from various parts of the numerous medicinal plants found on the Southeast African plains. Mzee Maingi Ndanye, from Kimutwe village in Machakos, is best known for his concoction of herbs mixed with locally fermented brew which has the ability to heal boils. The Akamba are still known for the fine work in wood carving, basketry and pottery and the products. Their artistic inclination is evidenced in the sculpture work that is on display in many craft shops and galleries in the major cities and towns of Kenya. In the mid-18th century, a large number of Akamba pastoral groups moved eastwards from the Tsavo and Kiwezi areas to the coast. This migration was the result of extensive drought and lack of pasture for the cattle. They settled in the Mariakani, Kinangad, Kwale, Mombasa West and Mombasa North areas of the coast of Kenya, creating the beginnings of urban settlement. They are still found in large numbers in these towns, and have been absorbed into the cultural, economic and political life of the modern-day coast province. Several notable businessmen and women, politicians, as well as professional men and women are direct descendants of these itinerant pastoralists. Colonialism and the 19th century. In the latter part of the 19th century, the Arabs took over the coastal trade from the Akamba, who then acted as middlemen between the Arab and Swahili traders and the tribes further up country. Their trade and travel made them ideal guides for the caravans, gathering elephant tusks, precious stones and some slaves for the Middle Eastern, Indian, and Chinese markets. Early European explorers also used them as guides in their expeditions to explore Southeast Africa due to the wide knowledge of the land and neutral standing with many of the other societies they traded with. During the colonial era, British colonial officials considered the Kamba to be the premier martial race and sharpshooters of Africa. The Kamba themselves appeared to embrace this label by enlisting in the colonial army in large numbers. After confidently describing the Kamba serving in the King's African Rifles as loyal soldiers of the Queen during the Mau Mau emergency, a press release by the East Africa Command went on to characterize the Kamba as a fighting race. These sentiments were echoed by other colonial observers in the early 1950s who deemed the Kamba a hardy, virile, courageous, and mechanically minded tribe, considered by many officers to be the best material in Africa. The Kamba supplied the Ka with askaris at a rate that was 3 to 4 times the percentage of the overall Kenyan population. The Kamba people were also very brave and successfully resisted an attempt by the British colonialists to seize the livestock in an obnoxious livestock control legislation in 1938. They peacefully fought the British until the law was repealed. Among the Akamba people, lack of rain is considered an event requiring ritual intervention. As a result, they perform a ritual rain-making dance called Kilumi. It is a healing rite designed to restore environmental balance through spiritual blessings, movement, offering, and prayers. According to Akamba, Kilumi has been present since the very beginning of Kamba existence. This ritual emphasizes symbolic dance movements as a key force in achieving the goal of the ceremony. The heart of the dance ritual is its spiritual essence. In fact, it is the spiritual aspect that distinguishes the dances of Africans and their descendants worldwide. For this reason, it is important to understand the nature of rituals. Dance rituals take participants on a journey. They are designed to foster transformation, moving them to different states, with the ultimate goal of invoking spiritual intervention to resolve the problem at hand. Akamba resistance to colonial pacification was mostly non-violent in nature. Some of the best-known Akamba resistance leaders to colonialism were Siokimatsu's Sarotun Wakathuki, Muindi Mingu, and later Paul Ngei, J.D. Kali, and Malu of Kilungu. Ngei and Kali were imprisoned by the colonial government for their anti-colonial protests. Sarotun Wakathuki led a peaceful protest to recover cattle confiscated by the British colonial government during one of the raiding expeditions on the local populations. Muindi Mingu was arrested for leading another protest march to recover stolen land and cattle around the Mua Hills in Machakos district, which the British settlers eventually appropriated for themselves. J.D. Kali, along with Paul Ngei, joined the Mau Mau movement to recover Kenya for the Kenyan people. This movement took place between 1952 to 1960. He was imprisoned in Kapamuri during the fighting between the then government and the freedom fighters. Culture and beliefs. Mythology. Like all other Bantu communities, the Akamba have a story of origin that differs greatly from that of the Kikuyu. It goes like, in the beginning, Mulungu created a man and a woman. This was the couple from heaven, and he proceeded to place them on a rock at Nzau where the footprints, including those of the livestock, can be seen to this day. Mulungu then caused a great rainfall. For the many ant hills around, a man and a woman came out. These were the initiators of the spirits clan, the Aimo. It so happened that the couple from heaven had only sons, while the couple from the ant hill had only daughters. Naturally, the couple from heaven paid dowry for the daughters of the couple from the ant hill. The family and their cattle greatly increased in numbers. With this prosperity, they forgot to give thanks to the Creator. Mulungu punished them with a great famine. This led to dispersal as the family scattered in search of food. Some became the Kikuyu, others the Meru, while some remained as the original people, the Akamba. The Akamba are not specific about the number of children that each couple had initially born. The Akamba believe in a monotheistic, invisible and transcendental God, Ga Mulungu, who lives in the sky. Another venerable name for God is Asha, or the Father. He is also known as Gai Mumbi Namwatuingi. He is perceived as the omnipotent creator of life on earth and is a merciful, if distant, entity. The traditional Akamba perceive the spirits of the departed ones, the Aimu Amemu, as the intercessors between themselves and Gai Mulungu. They are remembered in family rituals and offerings, libations at individual altars. The Akamba family. In Akamba culture, the family plays a central role in the community. The Akamba extended family clan is called Mbai. The man, who is the head of the family, is usually engaged in an economic activity popular among the community like trading, hunting, cattle herding or farming. He is known as now Tata or Asha. The woman, whatever her husband's occupation, works on her plot of land, which she is given upon joining her husband's household. She supplies the bulk of the food consumed by her family. She grows maize, millet, sweet potatoes, pumpkin, beans, pigeon peas, greens, arrowroot, cassava, and yam in cooler regions like Angando, Kilungu and Mabuni. It is the mother's role to bring up the children. Even children that have grown up into adults are expected to never contradict the mother's wishes. The mother is known as Mwatu. Very little distinction is made between one's children and nieces and nephews. They address the maternal uncle as Naimiwa and maternal aunts as Mwendia, and for the paternal uncle and aunt is Mwendwai. They address the paternal cousins as Wa Asha and the maternal cousins as Wa Mwendia. Children often move from one household to another with ease, and are made to feel at home by their aunts and uncles who, while in charge of the nephews, nieces, are the de facto parents. Grandparents may help with the less strenuous chores around the home, such as rope making, tanning leather, carving of beehives, three-legged wooden stools, cleaning and decorating calabashes, making bows and arrows, etc. Older women continue to work the land, as this is seen as a source of independence and economic security. They also carry out trade in the local markets, though not exclusively. In the modern Akamba family, the women, especially in the urban regions, practice professions such as teaching, law, medicine, nursing, secretarial work, management, tailoring, and other duties in accordance with Kenya's socio-economic evolution. The Kamba clans are Aom, Akitondo, Amwe, Atwi, Amumui, Ithanga, Atangwa, Amute, Iwani, Akituto, Ambua, Aini, Asii, Akimi. Naming and Kamba names. Naming of children is an important aspect of the Akamba people. In most but not all cases, the first 4 children, 2 boys and 2 girls, are named after the grandparents on both sides of the family. The first boy is named after the paternal grandfather and the second after the maternal grandfather. Girls are similarly named, because of the respect that the Kamba people observe between the varied relationships. There are people with whom they cannot speak in first-name terms. The father and the mother-in-law on the husband's side, for instance, can never address the daughter-in-law by her first name. Neither can she address them by the first names. Yet she has to name her children after them. To solve this problem, a system of naming is adopted that gave names which were descriptive of the quality or career of the grandparents. Therefore, when a woman is married into a family, she is given a family name, such as Sayo Munithia Nga Mutunga, that is, she who is to be the mother of Munithia Mutunga. Her first son is to be called by this name. This name Munithia was descriptive of certain qualities of the paternal grandfather or of his career. Thus, when she is calling her son, she would indeed be calling her father-in-law, but at the same time strictly observing the cultural law of never addressing her in-laws by the first names. After these 4 children are named, whose names were more or less predetermined, other children could be given any other names, sometimes after other relatives and/or family friends on both sides of the family. Occasionally, children were given names that were descriptive of the circumstances under which they were born. Endukus and Mutukus, meaning born at night. Kyoko, born in the morning. Mumbua, Siombua, and Joambua, for the time of rain. Weuit, for the time of famine. Macau, for the time of war. Musioka, Kasuko, Musioki, and Kasioka, Kasioki, as a reincarnation of a dead family member. Mutua and Mutuo, Mwikali, as indicative of the long duration the parents had waited for this child, or a lengthy period of gestation. Munyao, for the time of famine. Wani, for the time of visitors. Morndu, for the time of multiple activities, things. Children were also given affectionate names as expressions of what the parents wished them to be in life. Such names would be like Mutongoi, Musili, Muui, Numbao. Of course, some of these names could be simply expressive of the qualities displayed by the man or woman after whom they were named. Very rarely, a boy may be given the name Musumbi, I say very rarely because the Kamba people did not speak much in terms of royalty. They did not have a definite monarchical system. They were ruled by a council of elders called King. There is a prophecy of a man who traces his ancestry to where the sun sets who will bear this name. A girl could be called Mum, meaning beautiful. Wild animal names like Nzoka, Mbiti, Mabuku's Munyambu, or Mbiw, or domesticated animal names like Ngiti, Noom, or Nguku, were given to children born of mothers who started by giving stillbirths. This was done to wish away the bad omen and allow the new child to survive. Sometimes the names were used to preserve the good names for later children. There was a belief that a woman's later children had a better chance of surviving than her first ones. Kamba music. The Akamba people's love of music and dance is evidenced in the spectacular performances at many events in the daily lives or on occasions of regional and national importance. In the dances they display agility and athletic skills as they perform acrobatics and body movements. The Akamba dance techniques and style resemble those of the Batutsi of Rwanda, Burundi, and the Embu of Kenya. The earliest, most famous and respected traditional Kamba soloist who can be documented was Melu Mbio and came from Kwa now Mwingi. The following are some of the varieties of traditional dance styles of the Akamba community. Mwali, a dance accompanying a song, the latter which is usually made to criticize antisocial behavior. Kilumi and Ngoma, religious dances performed at healing and rain-making ceremonies. Mwilu is a circumcision dance. Mabali or another is a dance for young people who meet to entertain themselves after the day's chores are done. Komandiko, or the modern disco, usually held after a wedding party. Dances are usually accompanied by songs composed for the occasion, and reflect the traditional structure of the Kikamba song, sung on a pentatonic scale. The singing is lively and tuneful. Songs are composed satirizing deviant behavior, antisocial activity, etc. The Akamba have famous work songs, such as Ngulumwelela, sung while work, such as digging, is going on. Herdsmen and boys have different songs, as the young people are old. During the Mabali dances, the dance leader will compose love songs and satirical numbers to tease and entertain her dancers. Clothing and costumery. The Akamba of the modern times, like most people in Kenya, dress rather conventionally in Western European clothing. The men wear trousers and shirts. Young boys will, as a rule, wear shorts and short-sleeved shirts, usually in cotton, or t-shirts. Traditionally, Akamba men wore leather short kilts made from animal skins or tree bark. They wore copious jewelry, mainly of copper and brass. It consisted of neck chains, bracelets, and anklets. The women in modern Akamba society also dress in the European fashion, taking the pick from dresses, skirts, trousers, jeans and shorts, made from the wide range of fabrics available in Kenya. Primarily, however, skirts are the customary and respectable mode of dress. In the past, the women were attired in knee-length leather or bark skirts, embellished with beadwork. They wore necklaces made of beads, these obtained from the Swahili and Arab traders. They shaved their heads clean, and wore a headband intensively decorated with beads. The various Kilumia dance groups wore similar colors and patterns on the beadwork to distinguish themselves from other groups. Traditionally, both men and women wore leather sandals, especially when they ventured out of the neighborhoods to go to the market or on visits. While at home or working in the fields, however, they remained barefoot. School children, male and female, shave their heads to maintain the spirit of uniformity and equality. Currently the most popular Kamba artists include Ken Wimaria, Katavu, Kitungu, etc. Ken Wimaria is rated as the top artist in Ukambani and the richest Kenyan artist. prominent Akamba people. Samuel Muindi Mingu was a Kenyan political leader who led an insurgency in the late 1930s under the slogan "No Kikus." This was one of the harbingers of the Mau Mau uprising of the 1950s. His uprising and subsequently the formation of the Mau Mau started against colonialists as a result of the need for more grazing land for the blacks to feed the cattle. Hon Justice Philip Nyamuwaki, Judge, Court of Appeal, Kenya, a Kenyan judge. He is best known for heading the 2008 Commission of Inquiry into Post-Election Violence, also known as the Waki Commission. In April 2012, the Kenya Judges and Magistrates Vetting Board cleared Justice Waki suitable to continue holding office. John Samuel Mbiti, theologian, philosopher, priest, emeritus professor at University of Bern, parish minister in Bergdorf, Switzerland. His is the one who translated the Bible from its original Greek language into Kamba. Some of his publications include Concepts of God in Africa, London, SPCK. ISBN 0281023476, New Testament Eschatology in an African Background. Oxford University Press. ISBN 0198216599. The Honourable Paul Joseph Ngei was a Kenyan politician who was imprisoned for his role in the anti-colonial movement, but who went on to hold several government ministerial positions after Kenya became independent. Benson Massio was a Kenyan long-distance runner and marathon specialist who competed in the late 1980s and 1990s. He participated at the inaugural IAAF World Half Marathon Championships in 1992 and finished in first place. Nyiva Mwendwa, first female cabinet minister in Kenya. Sayoki Masu, date of birth unknown, prophetess and a great healer, prophesied the coming of the white people to Kenya and prophesied the construction of the Mombasa-Kisumu railway line. In her prophecy she said she could see people of a different color carrying fire inside waters, which was later to be understood as white people in vessels carrying matchboxes and guns. She prophesied seeing a long snake whose head was in the Indian Ocean and the tail was in Lake Victoria. Kitui Maluki Mwendwa, the first black Chief Justice of independent Kenya. Mutula Kilonzo was senior counsel, a former cabinet minister and first senator of Makueni County, and was succeeded by his son Mutula Kilonzo Jr. Samuel Kivutu was the chairman of the now-defunct Electoral Commission of Kenya. Ndingi Mwananzeki, Catholic Archbishop Nairobi. Boniface Lele, Catholic Archbishop Mombasa Archdiocese. Rev Mutalva Museumi, MP, current Member of Parliament, former Secretary-General, National Council of Churches, Kenya. Jen Jackson Kime Umulinge, a former Chief of General Staff, Kenya Defence Forces. Colonel Ndolo, first African Commander of Kenya Army. Gen Jeremiah Kayanga, retired Chief of General Staff, Kenya Defence Forces. Mabuvi News, CEO, Kenya Airways. Dr. Willie Mutunga, current Chief Justice of Kenya. Dr. Alfred Mutua, former Kenya government spokesman and current governor of Machakos County. Professor Kivu the Kiwana, former cabinet minister. Former Dean of Law Faculty, University of Nairobi, and current Governor Makueni. Macau W. Mutua is a Kenyan-born professor of law and the Dean of the University at Buffalo Law School and a member of the Council on Foreign Relations. Charity Gilu, former current Cabinet Secretary for Land, Housing and Urban Development. Kalonzo Musyoka, former Kenyan Vice President and party leader of Wiper Democratic Party. Kimanthi Mutua, founder and first managing director of Wahida Bank. Global leader in microfinance development. Ukumakima, paramount chief of Kenya in the 20th century.